Definitely a lot of question marks. We've seen what the prices have done. They're challenging to look at, but at the same time, you get to look out at these beautiful fields right now, and I think just about everyone's thinking about how great things are. So it's hard to be pessimistic while you have such a beautiful crop throughout much of the country. But at the same time, yes, farmers have to be forward thinking. You see what input costs have been doing the last few years. They're lower than they were in some areas, but they're still very high. So, what's our next move? From a risk management perspective, farmers may be covered, for this year. But next year, there's a lot of question marks. So everyone's thinking, what can I adjust today? What can I adjust tomorrow that can help us increase that margin?
What can they do? I haven't seen anybody wanting to pare back on fertilizer, but they know that there's got to be some changes made. So let's start with fertilizer. Is there any wiggle room there?
So some farmers will, of course, maybe adjust their crop rotation where they can. If they're able to put in beans, a lot of folks are going to go that route. But, corn, for the most part, is the moneymaker for much of the farm belt. So what producers will be looking at, can they scale back nitrogen? Maybe, but at the same time, you scale back, your nitrogen, you're looking at reduced ceiling for where your crop might be. So that's a hard, decision to make. So timing of your application might be an impact. If you can get it closer to planting time, really improve your efficiencies. That's a good way to look at, because our margins are going to be so tight this time around. You have to look at every incremental possibility. So soil health, for example, where can you dive in there and maybe figure out, hey, if I do this, I might impact weed control a bit, might improve, moisture presence, things like that. Every little bit's going to make a huge difference the next couple of years.
All right. So you mentioned, instead of really using what I was reading into it, instead of putting on all your fertilizer and your nitrogen in the fall, put some of that in the spring, a side dress that's closer to application and the use of when that corn plant's going to be using it. Then is that a direction that people could take for saving money?
That's a definite consideration. I would hesitate from telling any farmer the thing they need to do, because every acre is different. And that farmer that's been farming it 3 years, 5 years, 20 years, however long it's been, they know more about that soil, that environment than anyone in my shoes do. We will give information that can hopefully advise them on making the right decisions, but it's important for farmers to be confident in what they do know. They know a system that works for them. Where can they make those small incremental changes that can hopefully, improve their risk level?
In your perspective on crop inputs, I'm sure petroleum and fuel is part of that as well. We have seen some stability and maybe a little bit of drop, but when you look out in the distance, do you see concerns either going up or easing back any?
That's very hard. You look at the cycles of where a recession or soft landing, what it might mean for global commodity trades. And, of course, fuel is globally traded. So those prices can vary a bit. You also watch what rates and currency values are doing around the world as well, because that impacts our costs quite a bit. So in the current cycle, and especially with the political nature of things, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. A lot of question marks that are really hard to account for.
All right. Seed in there, have we seen seed costs go up that much? There's a lot of new technology in it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Next to the ground a farmer is working on, seed is your, that's the probably biggest top of mind investment you're making. And while those costs are going up, you're seeing increased stack of traits and other things that can help protect them, help to navigate that potential shortcoming they might have if there's a drought or an insect or disease issue. So while farmers do see that seed cost going up, they're seeing important tools in their bucket that's going to help them. You're selecting for 5, 6, 8 traits, whatever it may be. You may only really need 3 of those in a given year. But if you don't have those 3, that's a big issue. So we have seen seed costs go up, stay up, but at the same time, some of these prices do soften when we get closer to season.
And the last one, really, crop protection chemicals, whether it's herbicides, insecticides, fungicides, and we've got a different pirate coming out every year, it seems like.
Absolutely. Weeds are something, just put it that way. Again, we're fortunate to have a lot of tools in the bucket. our seed providers, our chemistry support system, they continue to give us new tools each and every year, which is great. You know, you talk about agriculture, it's innovated each and every year since the beginning of time. And you know, U.S. agriculture is really the staple of doing that. And you know, we think of phrases like sustainability all the time and things like that. And that is one of the clearest pictures of what sustainability is: innovating, changing, learning from your mistakes. So yeah, on the inputs and crop protection side of things, you know, farmers are trying new things here and there. They may be, you know, switching some of the traits they're selecting for, you know, weed control and things like that. But, you know, they're doing the research they need to do. And fortunately, they have a lot of tools to make the best decision for their operation.
Now, in your world, you're looking at all of these costs and figuring out farm budgets and helping farmers with the economics of growing a crop. When we get down to talking to our local banker, are there any new things coming out in financing agriculture that may be something that some creativity could be applied?
So it's really important. Just continue communicating with your lenders, you know, especially in this cycle. They want to know what's going on. You need to know what's going on. When there are products that are available to explore, make sure you're doing that. You know, there are some funds, especially when you talk about young beginning farmers. This cycle is going to be very challenging, you know, and we're in this season of transition, you know, and we're, you know, I'm not sure that, you know, never in the past have we seen this transfer of assets or wealth within our industry. So it's important for younger or producers that are taking over to, you know, be in constant contact with their lenders. And, you know, if you got a concern, talk about it with them. You know, they've got your best interest at hand for the most part. They want you to succeed, not just as a customer, but as a, you know, most of these folks that are lending to farmers understand the industry. They want to support it. So, you know, constant communication is really important. In terms of specific products, you know, every lender might have their own a product that's available. So.